It is May, and this is Indianapolis. Welcome to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as we kick off the month of May for 2024, leading to the 108th Indianapolis 500, and it starts off on the road course with the Sonsio Grand Prix tomorrow afternoon, 3 o'clock on NBC. A beautiful morning on the west side as we are ready to go road course racing from the opposite direction this weekend before Indy 500 practice begins on Tuesday. Kevin Lee, James Hinchcliffe, Marty Snyder as cars are released and a flurry of activity begins for this very busy day. All right, Hinch, we come to this place. It's impossible in May to not think about the Indianapolis 500, but this event pays the same amount of points in the championship as, for example, Nashville Superspeedway. For the finale, you got to get refocused and pay attention to what the task at hand is.
You really do, and it's kind of tough in the build-up to it. But honestly, once the green flag launches for the start of this practice session, everybody gets what the goal is, what the task is, and you kind of refocus again as long as race cars are on the racetrack. It's like I say, it's tough in the build-up. You're already, as soon as the calendar hits May 1st, Marty, you're already thinking the Indy 500. You're here at the Speedway. But as soon as you pull out on a pit lane and hang a right instead of a left, your brain sort of flips and says, okay, no, hold on, we still have a job to do here.
And for the second event in a row, there is serious news. Let's shift to that now and transition to what the latest is from Team Penske. So this all goes back to the season opener that we found out after the Long Beach race. Joseph Newgarden and Scott McLaughlin were disqualified for illegal use of push-to-pass, and that was from the series standpoint. Will Power was also penalized points, ultimately only 2, because he did not use the push-to-pass. So since we last convened in Barber Motorsports Park, Team Penske has done their own investigation, and Roger Penske has decided from a team standpoint, not a series standpoint, that there were going to be further penalties. The release included wording that said Team Penske has determined that there were significant failures in our race processes and internal communications. As a result, Joseph Newgarden's engineer, Luke Mason, Robbie Atkinson, a senior data engineer who was on the number 12 Will Power car, suspended for the next 2 events. That includes the Indianapolis 500. In addition, the managing director, Ron Rzuski, who was the strategist for Will Power, also suspended for that timeline. Amten Cindric, the president of Team Penske, accountable for all Penske operations, suspended. Roger Penske's statements to the media have included the wording, we had no malicious intent, the team had no malicious intent, but essentially he's decided we need to be held accountable for that.
Yeah, it was sort of deemed that a big enough failure in process had occurred, which is why, people with titles like team president and managing director have been sidelined for not just 2 races, Kev. I mean, 2 of the most important, the most important race, and then arguably one of the other most important races of the season. You're staring at Dave Faustino on the stand there. That is Will Power's race engineer, who's having to do double duty for the next 2 events now, filling in for Ron Rzuski on the strategist side as well. So he has taken up his perch at the front of the stand rather than back on the bench. So a little bit of shuffling around there for Will Power and Joseph Newgarden. And if you're wondering why there were no members suspended off the 3 car, I guess they looked internally at where the breakdown in communication happened and went after those that were responsible. And luckily for Scott McLaughlin, no one from the 3 car was deemed to have played a meaningful role in what happened, and his crew remains unchanged.
All right, let's watch race cars now. News from yesterday, Théo Pourchaire is confirmed for the rest of the season other than the Indianapolis 500, but we will see him starting at Detroit along with this weekend for the rest of the season. Very, very big news for the 20-year-old Frenchman.
Yeah, it's huge. It's great for Théo, great for the team to finally get some consistency in that number 6 car. It's been a bit of a mess since the start of the season. David Malukas contracted to drive that car, had that preseason training accident, had a wrist injury, which has not healed on the pace they were hoping. The team is separated from David Malukas, and now they've put Théo in for the season, bar the Indy 500. He did complete his first oval test this past week at Gateway. I saw him yesterday. He had a big smile on his face. He said it was scary, but man, it was a lot of fun. So he has opted out of and excused himself from his Super Formula duties in Japan. as you can see the map of the road course here going through turns 1 and 2. So he will be solely focused now on this IndyCar program. And Teddy Porkchops, as he's affectionately known, getting his first laps here around the Indy GP circuit. And this is a track, Kev, that we've seen a lot of drivers come from Europe, especially from the F2 series, and take to immediately. I remember Christian Lundgaard had a very impressive debut here. Marcus Ericsson's always been quick here. It just seems to be one that the European drivers take to. Romain Grosjean, when he first came over, was exceptionally quick here as well. So I know with a few race weekends under his belt, one of the hardest weekends of the year, physically at Barber out of the way, I think he's excited for the prospects of a good result here.
Is it easier to learn a new track that doesn't have a whole lot of elevation change? It's not like you're just going with confidence through blind corners and up and down hills.
Definitely. I mean, you think of some of those spots at Barber, turn 7, turn 12, 13. Those elevation, even turn 1 actually, those elevation changes, it takes laps to get the confidence and where the track limits are, and he's still learning, spatial awareness of the dimensions of the car. So this will be a much more comfortable place for him.
Snap-on livery this weekend for Joseph Newgarden. Very different timing stand, as we've talked about. He comes in to the month of May the first time as an Indianapolis 500 winner. But unfortunately for Joseph, that's not the conversation right now surrounding him.
It's not at the moment. Again, all these suspensions are new, they're fresh. But, we've talked about this over the last few weeks. Oh, big save from Newgarden. That exit curve there in turn 10, Kev, I got to tell you, it's just a little bit too short. You wish it had extended towards the corner a few feet more. A lot of drivers really flirting with the grass there. We saw Joseph just getting caught out a little bit. But, no, I think, look, it's been a tumultuous few weeks for this organization and for this driver specifically.
Your P1 there. Remember your bars.
I think ultimately, as we take a quick replay here, a lot of curb on the apex and just got to the grass on the exit. So you just wish that curb was a few feet longer. But look, Joseph's a pro. This team are pros. They're going to take what's been given to them from both the series and from the team internally and move on. But Joseph, one of the few rookies non-rookies on the racetrack. Rookies, of course, get an extra set of tires in this first practice session, so that's why you don't see many of the veterans pounding around laps just yet, but Newgarden going out there and setting the bar early.
I feel like Joseph is probably one of those people. We've seen Alex Palou do this to block out any distractions. I feel like Joseph might be one of those people that can do that and really focus on the task at hand. You heard John Boslog a moment ago, so John Boslog is very experienced doing this. I believe you on the...
got a spin now. Same sort of thing. Sorry to interrupt there, Kev. It was, engine is stalled, so this will cause a red flag.
Yeah, I stalled it here. The exit.
It's funny, we saw a spin from Joseph and Barber as well in first practice early on, but...
Yeah, he said he wasn't quite on top of his game at that time.
Y'all good?
If I recall, he went on to finish first in that session,
Yeah.
so he got over it pretty quick.
And he was coming off, he said, basically a sleepless night. That's when he had met with the media for the first time since the DQ at St. Pete. Here it is again.
Into turn 13, kind of decreasing radius, tight corner to the power, nice and early. Just got a little bit of oversteer, had to sort of drive it out to the curb there. And again, I think just dropped the right rear in the grass. It's, again, very tricky corner, especially with these cool conditions. Those Firestone tires take a little bit to get up to pace, get up to temperature. Some confidence as we see a red flag. I think that's Graham Rahal stopped at pit out there. We were just on board with his teammate, Christian Lundgaard, another driver with some success here. Graham, our most recent pole sitter at this racetrack, not for this event. I believe he had the pole in the fall race.
So what's the issue here for the Fifth Third Bank Honda? Yeah, Rahal was very good
Everybody, I just do safety.
last year.
There's something going on there with the engine, so we're going to try to tow you back here and look at it.
There you go. That was Derek Davidson.
It's I'm 99.999% sure it's mechanical. Yep, 10-4.
Does he mean mechanical within the engine? Or is he arguing that it's not really an engine issue and it's something mechanical, drive shaft or something else?
And then sometimes it even feels like it's a power issue, like it could be an engine issue, but it's an electrical issue.
Oh, he was actually on track. I thought that was just pulling out of pit lane, but that's just where he pulled over. So let's just listen.
Doesn't sound right.
Something's let go. Let's go.
All right. Shut it off, pull over.
Yeah, so that was Graham making that call in the timing stand as well to shut the engine off. This is a new engine hinge that you just put in. So a lot of the teams after Barber switched the engine over for this weekend at the Indy GP. You know, we certainly don't want to speculate, but have you ever seen that issue where a brand new engine goes in and maybe there's some gremlins within that hinge?
Yes, certainly. I mean, it could be something in the build of the engine. It could be something in the installation on the team side. You just never know. You know, these things obviously are remarkably high-performance machines, tuned to the absolute max. The rules in IndyCar allow 4 engines to be used throughout the course of the year, and the way it cycles out, a lot of drivers either did it in Barber or doing it here this weekend. So this is a normal point in the year to have an engine change. But the hope for Graham and the 15 team is that, because this is a brand new one, that this isn't one that can't be used again going forward, because losing another one out of your allocation before it even had a chance to run a race could be is going to be painful come the end of the season. Oh, big smoke from pit lane. That's the number 11, Marcus Armstrong. Chip Ganassi Racing entry. Tons of smoke coming out of the exhaust pipes of that car. Marty, what can you see down there?
Now there's
fire.
A fire hinge, yeah, in the back there. They don't seem to be in too big of a hurry here, but Marcus just came on the radio and said something does not feel right with the engine. Again, this is a Honda car as well, and now that fire does not seem to be wanting to go out, and the team trying to get the engine cover off. There you go. They're spraying some air on it, and that kind of douses the flames a little bit. But, yeah, Marcus had just said on the radio, I feel something is wrong with the engine. The team said back, we don't see anything, just keep running, and this is the result. So a second Honda issue here with an engine. We'll check and see if this was a brand new engine for the 11 team as well.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see what the mileage was on that one, as a red flag has come out. Perhaps some oil on the racetrack. I can't see anything else. But yeah, that's, you know, again, a loss of a good chunk of track time. Armstrong had not yet set a lap, a competitive lap. But I know you're down there, Marty. If you learn anything else?
Well, let's chat with Marcus real quick. I heard you say on the radio you felt an engine issue?
I felt a bit of a vibration. They didn't see anything on the data, so yeah, but you know when there's something not right. So I just boxed, and I think we may have saved it. I mean, if I kept going, we wouldn't have had a fire extinguisher or anything out there. So yeah, we'll see.
Good point by you. Is that a brand new engine for you as well? Because Graham Rahal had a brand new engine and had an engine issue.
Yeah, there's quite a few new engines for this month, so I don't know how much I can disclose, but yeah, whatever the problem is, I'm sure we'll have it sorted soon, and we'll be rocking and rolling really soon.
All right, there you go. Marcus kind of trying to process what all happened there. So, Hinch, interesting, they said he felt a vibration. What would that possibly be when you feel a vibration and it winds up being an engine issue?
I mean, it could be a couple different things, but it's, you know, when you drive these race cars, you know, as many weekends a year as these drivers do, and you've done as many laps as you do as a driver, you just get so in tune with what the car should feel like, all the sounds, all the noises, all the feelings. And so when something is off, even if it's something very small, drivers are amazingly tuned in to what the car's doing. They can feel those small differences. And you heard him say, like, even though the engineer said they couldn't see anything on the data, he decided to pull into the pits, and then coming down pit lane is when the smoke started billowing out of the exhaust pipe. So, you know, very heads up from Armstrong to kind of just make that call and say, no, I know you don't see it, but I feel it. There's something not right. And but there'll be a lot of investigating happening. And also now a lot of questions up and down pit lane, Kev, from other Honda teams. They'll be reaching out to their Honda reps who are going to be talking to the bosses at HRC to say, hey, are these two things related? Is there something we should be looking for?
Yeah, certainly something to keep an eye on as we get the month of May started here at Indianapolis.
Oh, man, that's oddly enough, their pit stall's right in front of you, and you're right here, and you both have brand new issues with your Honda engines. What was happening with yours?
Yeah, I think, I think I just caught it before him, frankly, because I heard it coming out of 13 right away. Did like one upshift, and I clutched right away because I could tell, but it just we'll see. These are new engines. We've got to see what the issues are. Unfortunately, there's clearly something going on, but Honda's done a wonderful job all year at HRC, and I feel like they've been pushing the limits, and we'll see what the rest of the May has in touch. But it's kind of unfortunate for the two of us, at least, to not even getting running this morning.
So where does the path even start? I mean, should Honda be worried globally now with two brand new engines going early in this session?
I think it's too early to say that. It is quite early, only being on my second, real flying lap of the whole day. But I think it's too early to panic right now. Let's see how the rest of this session shapes up. For us, the focus is going to be just to try to get an engine in to make the next session, because obviously you don't want to go into qualifying without having run at all today. But in this morning's session, as cool as it is, honestly, I don't know how much you can be able to take from this. I mean, it's cool right now. The tire, the metrics that we got said the tire was harder this year on the Prime than last year, and I don't know if that's true. It kind of feels like the tire's got quite a lot of grip. So it'll just be interesting to see, but I don't think you can take a lot from the start of this session. It's cool.
Here's Romain Grosjean. He certainly has been good and quick here, and I feel like it's going really well. I think this was one of the big questions coming in with who goes Hollander Racing. Callum Ilott was impressive, especially in races. Qualifying was their challenge. Well, they found pretty decent pace, getting in the Fast Six at St. Petersburg, and he's had a couple of good results already in that new relationship.
He really has. I mean, I think everybody was looking at him and looking at sort of Felix Rosenquist as two stories of drivers leaving sort of the bigger, more established organizations for some smaller teams. Meyer-Shank Racing, not really a small team anymore. It's hard to call it that. 2 full-time cars, technical partnership with Andretti, a lot of commercial support there. And then this one here, Grosjean going to JHR. And as you say, it seems so far to be a match made in heaven. The pace has been very impressive throughout the start of the season. Thermal got taken out in the first corner, so didn't really get a chance to show what he had there. But 8th place at Long Beach and a 12th at Barber. So some solid results. But again, qualifying's kind of been the highlight for these guys.
Yep. He was second, or actually the best Chevy on the two-stop strategy at Barber last week. All right, let's check in with what's going on with Pietro Fittipaldi just moments ago. One of the other Rahal Letterman Lanigan cars. Lock up here.
Does he go to the runoff? No, he keeps on the track. Yeah, as you transition onto the banking here, you're sort of breaking at a bit of an angle, and there is still a little bit of camber in the short chute there of the oval, so it kind of can unweight the right front a tiny bit.
Meanwhile, at Barber, much more significant issues for Pietro Fittipaldi. And there was a penalty that came from that from Pato O'Ward, one of 2 penalties for Pato in that race. And then Pietro also had an incident in practice. Last I heard, they think that the steering failed in practice and crashed. So, challenging weekend.
Speaking of Pato O'Ward, speaking of challenges, you've got the young Mexican driver, fresh new contract here at McLaren.
Rearward bias.
But not the start of the season he would have been hoping for. Technically was promoted to the race victory in St. Pete after finishing second on track following the disqualification of Joseph Newgarden. From there, it was a 16th at Long Beach, 23rd at Barber after multiple penalties. And it's just, again, it continuing this conversation of what's it going to take for McLaren to win a race on track. I know we can all look at the history books, and St. Pete winner 2024 says Pato O'Ward and the McLaren team, but Pato will be the first person to tell you that's not how he wants to win races. That's not how the organization wants to win races. They want to go out there, dominate from the front, and prove that they're legitimate contenders week in and week out. And when you compare it to the start of his season last year, where he had, I think, 3 second places in the first 4 races, it's a bit of a contrast, almost the opposite of what we've seen from Santino Ferrucci. We were just talking about how his season's improved over last year. This guy's has gone the other way.
Teams are going to start putting on the alternate tires here in a moment, but last fall it was a primary race. That seemed to be the tire for everybody to be on, and that was what everybody wanted at the end of the race. What do you think is going to play out? Because if Graham is correct in what he's saying, and the primaries are maybe a little grippier than they thought, could it be a primary race again here in the spring?
It certainly could be, but then if the alternates are last year's primaries, which I believe they are, there might not be as big of a difference between the two, and it kind of can just come down to driver preference. There might not actually be a glaringly obvious preferred tire. We've seen that a few times here. Palou won here at this race last year. May using primary strategy when a lot of competitors were more biased towards the alternates. So it's kind of up in the air. If I knew that answer, Marty, I'd have a job as a strategist or a race engineer.
Yeah, well, the point is we're getting ready to find out, right? They're going to put on those alternates here in a minute, and we'll get at least a read of what they're like. They'll know more when they do warm-up, but yeah, they're going to know pretty quick on how those alternates are going to be.
They will, and I'm fascinated to see what happens because, we've had a decent amount of running now, but Joseph Newgarden's really single flying lap that he technically got 2 flying laps before he had his issue. I say that stays the fastest time as Rinus VeeKay cuts the line to make me a liar.
Well, thanks for calling it to attention.
Well, there you go.
Saw VeeKay move to the top.
So VeeKay's issues early, clearly not slowing him down. Kiffin Simpson absolutely hustling that Chip Ganassi racing car through the S's. Really impressive to watch. I mean, that thing is pretty hooked up. He was working the steering wheel hard, but the back of the car seemed to fall in line with the front. It seemed pretty in control. Let's take another look at that. You can hear it. The way that the tail whips back in line as he sets up out of turn 9 into turn 10. That's not something that usually most of my race cars through here didn't quite have the back end that sorted by that point in this section here.
Alexander Rossi, and moments ago, exploring the boundaries.
Same sort of thing as teammate Pato O'Ward down there. Just the bottom of the car hits on those bumps, and in this case, unloaded both front tires. The double lock up there for Rossi. Never a good feeling, but you just pop off the brake, try not to flat spot them. Luckily, lots of runoff here. Go mowing some grass.
When that does happen, how much use is there still in that set of Firestones?
It totally depends how long it was locked up for. It was a big lockup, but it wasn't for a long time, so that set might be fine. You can see a tiny spot on him. Obviously, he's come right back in to have a look. So it's 50-50 on whether or not that set's still usable. Look, they're probably pretty close to switching to the reds anyway. Yeah. So this might just sort of fast-track their program a little bit.
Just a moment ago, big slide.
Oh,
gets a little grass.
Oh, tank slapper.
And that's pretty impressive to hang on to.
It's very impressive to hang on to. Sliding out of 4. You see gets off line there. It's a bit dirty. He's just chasing it. Got a significant amount of the left rear in the grass there. And this tank slapper was impressive.
Aren't most people just going around at that point?
Yeah, I would have put money on it.
Yeah.
One way or the other. I'm not sure how he caught the initial slide. And then the overcorrection again.
All right, we're about done with that set. Let's go ahead and pit.
As we see Agustin Canapino briefly hold the top spot just before. Will Power couldn't just let him have that for a moment. But, man, what a lap from Canapino.
That is impressive. We talked earlier how Hunkos Hollinger seemed to be off to a strong start of the season. And for Agustin Canapino, it's back to a track for the second time. In this case, the third time after 2 weekends here last year. So he is quite comfy here so far this morning. And now we're going to see times drop. We're not going to take this away. That's still a solid lap for Agustin Canapino.
He's a tenth and a half ahead of Pato O'Ward in a McLaren. He's half a tenth behind Scott McLaughlin, our most recent race winner and pole sitter in a Penske. I don't care where he is on the time charts and the numbers. He's back to the top. He just pipped Will Power.
Back-to-back big laps for
That was
Augustine.
P1 again. We will P3, P1 now. Good job.
Back-to-back big laps as Ricardo Juncos talks to his driver.
Rinus VeeKay betters his time down to a 109.4. So the fastest driver on the primaries, getting it done on the alternates as well. But man, that is so impressive.
And he's never advanced to Q2 before. So that is maybe in play for Augustine Canapino. I believe his best start in a year and a third is 18th. So could that be in play? Q2 for Canapino.
As we see Teo Porcher pulling off the racetrack. That is right on the inside of turn 1.
He had spent a lot of the session inside the top 10. Right now, 19th quick.
Oh, sorry, that's turn 12.
Okay. Yeah. I have no power.
Uh-oh.
Copy. Just switch off and pull off into a safe spot.
So this is a Chevy. He said no power. Now, it may not. Maybe something totally different.
Well, maybe we have an onboard replay and we can...
It is a fuel pressure issue, so we'll have to get the safety workers to tow you back. There's only a minute to go in the session, so it's going to stay green till the end.
So yeah, IndyCar deciding to leave it green for the last 20 seconds. That car's in a nice safe location. You hear the voice of Robert Gouet chatting to Teddy, saying, look, bad luck, but a fuel pressure issue, not the end of the world. That's something that's usually pretty easily fixed. And he didn't really lose any track time as a result of it. So strong first session from Teo.
So I think we have seen the checker, and Colton Herta is fastest, but look who's number 2. Marty, it's Augustine Canapino.
Yeah, Herta may be fastest, but the story of this session is Augustine Canapino. Honestly, when you got in the car this morning, did you think, hey, we could be second quick today?
Honestly not, but I am trusting a lot with the work we are doing. Honestly, we were struggling with a lot of things during the year, but we know the pace is there, and we are improving step by step. We did a really good job in Mid-Ohio before come here. I think we found some things. I am starting to feel more comfortable, but we got really close the whole year between the 10 and 20, and I think when we can make everything in the window, we can battling for the top place. So I am really happy with the way we started the season, but I want more. I want to be in this zone the whole weekend.
I wish you could have seen the smile on Ricardo Juncos' face when you put down that lap. What does a lap like this do for this race team?
It's a really good feeling, of course. The car is in the window. It's very important. I am learning every time. I am learning a lot. For example, I remember last year when I come here, now I am another person. I'm still learning. I need more time, but now I'm starting to understand the soft tires, hard tires, the pressure, the brake, everything. So I think we can do a good job, and this is the example we can improve a lot too.
Hinch, spoken like a race car driver. Did you hear that first answer? He said, yeah, we're good, we're in the window, but I want more. He is second in this session. So impressive for Augustine Canapino.
That's a driver's mentality, Marty. They're not happy unless they're first. It doesn't matter. This guy's used to winning. He spent 15 years cleaning up in Argentinian touring cars. And this man here, Ricardo Juncos, saw that talent, wanted to apply it to his growing open wheel empire here in the States, and there you go.
So a fun first practice session as we kick off the month of May in Indianapolis with road course weekend for the Sonsio Grand Prix. Herta with Andretti, Honda fastest, Chevy 2, 3, 4, then a couple of more Hondas.
Pato O'Ward there just outside the top 10. Couple big hitters. It's so close here. You see Dixon, you see Newgarden, you see Pelot all outside the top 10. Kirkwood as well, and then Romain Grosjean 21st, even though his teammates all the way up there in second. That's the benefit of having teammates, Kev.
And then there are a couple that got next to nothing done. Graham Rahal and Marcus Armstrong will have new engines.